Hey, hello, and welcome to Small Town Big Business. We're a podcast about doing business in rural, small America. I'm Russ Williams. I'm director of EThOs, which is a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training and development here in downtown Marion, Illinois. In fact, we're on location today. We're in the Jones building. So we're actually on the east side of Tower Square Plaza with the Citadel, where we're usually at, on the west side. So we finally moved up into the east side. Pretty exciting. We're missing my co-host today, Allison Hassler, who couldn't be here with us. She's owner of Southern Illinois Vacation Rentals. And just want to thank everyone for viewing and watching us today, and want to thank our sponsors, Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Swinford Media Group, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, of course, our producers at Union Street Arts. And you can join the Small Town Big Business community on any of the podcast platforms that you enjoy. We ask you to subscribe, and also on YouTube. In fact, we're probably right at 100 subscribers for YouTube, maybe a little over by the time this shows. We want to thank everybody who's following us. But don't miss any of the future releases of Small Town Big Business. If you're new to our podcast, we interview successful business owners and business folks in small towns through rural mid-America. Ask them, why do they thrive in small towns like Marion, Illinois? Very special guest today, Mr. James Mosman of James Arthur Design Company here in downtown Marion. James, how are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Or thanks for joining me over here on the east side.
You're having me today.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that pretty cool?
Yep. It is neat.
One of the best views.
It is. It's beautiful. And it's every day there's something new up here, which is kind of fun. We finally moved into the space upstairs here about 2 weeks ago. So we're still getting kind of acclimated. The dust is settling literally on everything, but that's to be expected in construction. But it's exciting as they peel back the layers of the building and, kind of breathe life back into it. So it's been fun to be part of that.
That is so cool. Yeah. And we just did a tour of the building. Mm-hmm. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Sure. I think we're going to be off the page today. I think we're going to throw the script away.
Let's get off the page.
The first time we'll be off the page. I'm kind of nervous about that around you, James, but that's okay.
We'll make it. We'll make it.
Because usually you hang the Cubs banner outside your window in direct view of my office, which is...
Now, it's even more visible, so when I'm coming down Main Street, I can clearly see it. The beautiful W, which I don't get to fly it a whole lot anymore, but we're coming back. Man.
I think tomorrow my Cardinals flag goes up right outside the window.
I've been kind of looking
Of course, it's a World Series banner.
Well, you'd sent me a text message I don't know, it's probably been 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Or better, you said, hey, take a look at my window. Or did you see my window? Did you see the color?
Yes.
And I had a Cubs flag out that day.
You did.
And I'm like, I bet you I know what he did. He put a Cardinals thing out. I looked out there, I'm like, I don't see anything. But it was a brand new, it was an EThOs sign.
Well, we're just going to paint the entire building cardinal red, if that's okay.
Go for it. Let's see if that happens.
Well, let's start from the beginning, James.
Sure.
So tell us about James Arthur Design. Tell us about before James Arthur Design. Sure. Tell us how you got started, and tell us about your business.
Cool. Well, I guess I'm a rarity. Went through school for design, and I think graduated in, I'm going to date myself, but so does my white hair and lack of hair, white beard and lack of hair. Somewhere around 2001, 2002, they told us when in the graduation ceremony, I recall them saying that age group or my age group would change careers, like complete career changes, somewhere between 7 and 9 times, which I thought was wild even then. So a lot of the people that I remember and still keep in touch with from school, there's a few of them doing it. So it's kind of weird that I'm still doing what I went to school for, but I've always had a passion for art and drawing. My mom was an art teacher. Pope County for years and years. She jokes that she had a crayon in my hand before I was holding a fork or a spoon. She ended up working for Marion. Okay. She was there, I'm going to get this wrong, 10, probably 15 years as an art teacher there.
Junior high or high school?
High school.
Okay.
High school. So going through school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. except I knew that I wanted to do something with art. I knew I was going to make it as a fine artist, painting pictures. And I had a computer thrown in front of me, which I was deathly afraid of at the time because I couldn't even type. My girlfriend, who's now my wife, would help me with all my papers. But, I kind of fell in love with graphics and design. Worked for a small web development company in Heron, of all places, called Evolution Multimedia. I think they're around in some capacity under a different name. And then around 2003, I was approached by one of our clients at the time, Jeff Diederich, to come in-house. So we got talking, and I shared with him what my dream was to own a company or an agency similar to this. He liked the idea, and next thing you know, my first company was born, Arthur Agency, who is still around. They're in Carbondale. They're still based out of Carbondale. But I left them in, I believe it was 2006, 2007. Just opinions and where everything needed to go. I just didn't feel right there anymore, and I kind of wanted a new start. So I really kind of went out on my own, and I floated for about 10 years as a freelancer, and then doing some work for a couple local businesses. And then I believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. People go on about, working from home being great. I mean, that COVID has, changed a lot of things, and a lot of people worked at home for the first time. And I had been doing that for quite some time. And there's pros and cons, but the cons in what we do here, working with clients in really in a creative environment, it's tough. It's tough being by yourself. I had 2 dogs to keep me company, and Google to lean on when I had a question. So got a space up on the square, just felt that it was the right place to be. I am by far not saying that I'm one of the people that saw this coming up here, but I've always been fascinated by the old architecture that we still have remaining here, and I wanted to be part of that. And it's been really interesting to see just the overall traffic and the buzz that's happened here. And while it's been going on, went from a 2-man show, now there's 6 of us here.
Wow.
So
and how many years here on the square, on Town Square?
I believe 6, if memory serves.
In this first location?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we were downstairs first, which is now going to be Little Nashville, which you'll hear about if you haven't already on a podcast sometime soon. Yeah. But we were asked, hey, would you like to go upstairs? Sure. Right. We have windows and a beautiful view. So it's been a ride, but and it's still changing. I don't think you're ever we're continually growing, and we were talking before we started here about your what your plan is, and you get into it, you start working towards whatever that goal is, and you realize I got to deviate. And it could just be the times are changing, or you see other opportunities, or things come up, so you have to kind of roll with the punches. So we're very happy up here.
That's
awesome.
awesome
To be here too. So
let's go back to your start again. Always wanted to be an entrepreneur, fell into being an entrepreneur, experience being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. As an employee, I'm probably the best employee and the worst employee you would ever have, because I question things. I'm always questioning.
That's marketing, isn't it?
Probably.
I mean, like the core of a good marketer is a person that questions.
Yeah.
Or maybe a design person.
I think so.
I mean, that's what I heard.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not.
And I'm not saying that, I'm not calling myself out to be a bad person, but I would question when things are done a way that maybe didn't make sense. And it's much easier to get up in the morning working for myself, knowing that I only have myself to blame. It's just much easier to do that, because I'm very passionate about, anybody I work for, I want to do the best that I can. I don't like sending people away unhappy, whatever it is. I mean, I've done, before I got into design work, I actually worked asphalt, putting myself through school, doing seal coating, knocking on doors and putting the smelly black stuff on driveways and parking lots throughout Southern Illinois. And, I guess I thrive on people being satisfied from what I do. I'm not necessarily, I don't do things for a pat on the back. I don't need that. But I'm passionate about doing the best I can for people. So getting back to, did I think I was going to own my own business someday? Yeah, I really did.
That's cool.
I think that was always in the cards. It didn't happen the way that I wanted it to. I remember in the basement of the home that I grew up in, purchasing the domain for the first company, arthuragency.com, thinking, it'll be interesting to see what that, turns into, and it's still around. So, I mean, even though I'm not part of that, I'm proud of that experience. It taught me a lot, and I've been able to pour that into this new business that honestly I've had much longer, and it's, so I always wanted to be in this capacity, and it's rewarding. I mean, you run a program, and it takes a while to get comfortable with delegating. I don't know if you're more of a doer than a delegator.
Try to be a delegator.
It's hard, but in a nutshell, I've always wanted to do that, and it didn't happen the way that I thought it would, but I love what it's evolved into.
Right. Well, imagine what you started with, the services that you started with has grown tremendously. So talk about that. What do you do? When I come to James Arthur, and of course I am a client of James Arthur Design.
We're going to talk about that too.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
And then but talk about with your team, what is different services?
Well, I think what's kind of, I got to step back just a little bit.
That's fine.
With the first company, again, you set your course, you think certain things are going to happen in a timeline, and it never goes according to plan. But what I looking back on it, this area, Southern Illinois in general, a little bit behind the times on certain things. We're late to adopt trends and technology. Part of that's just the conservative side of this area, which is also a very attractive part of it too. I like that. A little bit slower pace of things. But with the first company, we do marketing, advertising, and branding. I'll be honest, at that time, there really wasn't anybody around here doing that. This is circa 2003-ish. So a lot of our time was spent just educating people, not even just selling what we do, but trying to sell them on why it's beneficial for them to utilize some of the services that we could provide. Most common being, logo and branding and things that you need to set yourself apart from the competition and set your course. And I'll get into some of the services in a minute, but excuse me, as time has gone by, there's more of an awareness of the things that are needed to compete. It's monkey see, monkey do. If you're in pressure washing or you're a general practitioner it's not good enough just to have a sign on the door. You have to show your target audience why you're different, why you're better through how you look. There's a lot of subliminal, subconscious things going on there. How well everything looks cohesive and put together. The example I use is, when we get home from work after a long day, there always seems to be that one house in the neighborhood that always seems like the grass is perfect. The front door is always painted, even though they got kids going in and out. Everything looks perfect. And there's part of you that's, I'm not saying jealous about that. It's like, how do they have the time to do that? But you start reading into those situations that one thing you come away from it is they pride themselves on appearance. Like anything else, if you approach your business and being put together and looking like you have your together, it shows. People want to do business with somebody that looks like they're organized and have their own house in order. But as time has gone by, the awareness is certainly there where it wasn't before, so that's been helpful. And the services that we provide kind of span the gamut. my love is in really logo design, which generally speaking we refer to as branding, which is much more than just a logo. It's
Right.
everything that you put out there visually, either through traditional means or digital means, video, commercials, what have you, to sell and promote your product, service, or idea. But we do a fair amount, if not even more so at some points, web development and a lot of digital services as well. And at least in a small area, I found that to be helpful. When you get into metropolitan area, you can really kind of zero in on your niche and be, hey, this is exactly what we do, and that's all we do. Here, it's kind of a means to an end. You have to do a little bit of everything, which I personally enjoy, because then we have the ability to control consistency through all gamuts of somebody's business marketing plan and their promotions. So we do just about any kind of print collateral design that you can envision. We work with clients, some just on digital advertising strategies, Google, what have you. We do dabble in the social, but a lot of logo and brand work, and then a lot of web development. And
of course, you walked through the process of brand development with me not too long ago, last year, for EThOs. So
it was interesting, and I can pretty much put our client base in one of two categories. Either have something existing that they know needs refreshed, that it needs a new spin on it, or it's become stale, and maybe a competitor has stepped up with a new message that's just really kind of drowning them out. So they have to step it up by rebranding or redesigning how they look and the materials that they use to promote themselves. And then the other camp are small businesses or brand new businesses that really don't have anything to begin with, that we start up at literally the ground floor and kind of work our way up. And that typically starts with the mark or the brand, and working with somebody like yourself to get clues on what the person wants and what they want to see.
And I'm not an easy person to work with.
No, you're not. No, you are. You're a good guy. You're a good guy. And it's all shapes and sizes. I mean, we work with some clients that are like, hey, just do your thing, leave us alone, send us a bill when you're done. We know you'll do a good job. And then we have others that they want to be part of that process. I've worked with a local architect in town here, and she reached out to us because she could design, but she realized that she was in an echo chamber. So she kept doing the same things over and over and over again, and didn't want that. Realized that she really wanted something else, and came in and she said, when you're working on my logo, I don't care how rough or what, I want to see everything. Everything. Took it as a challenge. It was kind of, it was really interesting, because as we were working on her mark, the engagement there is really nice too, because they'll hint certain things that you pick up on in the process, and you're like, okay, they like this kind of a style. Or they like a little bit of humor, And the one thing that I pushed her on is, I said, I see you as having just a splash of berry red when you walk into your office. And no, absolutely not. I hate that color. Very adamant. I'm like, no. It's going to be red. So we took a chance and kind of threw some of the mock-ups together using that color palette. And it was maybe a week or two later, she comes in, head down. You're right. I love it. So
it's good.
Working hand in hand with that, I think when you have a close working relationship on a project like that, you tend to come up with things that are better, And I think EThOs was part and parcel of that too. I know when we started with it,
I had some solid ideas of what I wanted, because there's something that's represented on the backside of the building, and I thought, well, this is what it should be. And then you helped me look at a different perspective.
But as we worked on that,
well, your perspective is the professional who's going to look at that and what messages they're going to receive. So,
Right.
but in working on that, go ahead.
Yeah, we're working on
Yeah.
that. And not to point out things specifics, but we had to bridge the gap with EThOs on something that one looked professional and represented the building and what it stood for and the program. But we also sensed a little bit of you got to make it a little exciting too.
Yeah.
You got as that program is an incubator, you're dealing with entrepreneurs from every any industry that are in there, and they all have one thing in common. They're pushing to build this thing. There's this energy, right? So you have to have a little bit of that, push through the mark to kind of so it fits, so it makes sense with them.
Well,
so
I think we have a unique logo that doesn't match anything else that we see in this region, and that it maybe even look more metropolitan or suburban. Not that was where our goal was, but we certainly want to create entrepreneurial ecosystem here in Marion, center it in Marion, and expand it. And so I think that takes some different thinking, some stretching of thoughts, get out of the box, and so you helped us with that.
Yeah. Well,
Can you name some other, maybe for our local listeners, some other clients or maybe some brands that people would recognize that you've worked on?
Wow, putting me on the spot.
Well, if you want to mention a couple, and then I was going to talk about, I saw a recent television commercial too. So
Okay. Yeah. Probably one of the, and unfortunately, they're not around in the capacity that they were. At my previous company, we worked with a group that was this word on the street was a baseball team is coming to town. So the team that I led initially worked with what ended up becoming the miners organization.
Southern Illinois Miners,
And at that point, they didn't have a name. They had just, what do you guys think? And part of our think tank, we like to hear, especially we flip on a Edison bulb whenever we're having a brainstorm session, and it's on. Came up with the idea of the miners just because that was something that was, region wide, and that would pull that in. I distinctly remember drawing the first miners logo or the character, and I actually had a guy that worked with me. His name was Russ. Hold a broom of all things in the corner just to get the right. But we've worked with them. Another franchise around here, Lucky's Speakeasy. They've got locations here in Marion and elsewhere. A lot of clinics that we've worked with, and I'm sure I could think of some more, but being put on the spot too, it's like, yeah. But we do a lot of local work.
I've seen a local, and I've seen a television commercial.
We recently we've had the pleasure of working with Pepsi Mid America, and working with them on a campaign for 7-Up, and that's actually moving up through the chain of command there. We did 2 initial spots about a month ago, 2 months ago, and
really well done.
They're done. They're ready to unveil, but there's a few finishing touches we're putting on it, but. That I believe it'll be good for Pepsi Mid America and for them and their own capabilities in house, because we work with them hand in hand on that, and also for us because I think it opens up the door for us to get into some bigger national contracts. That, quite frankly, another question that you'll ask, what is a difficulty being in small town? It's hard to compete against those large areas because there's a preconceived notion that. If you're from Chicago, you got to be good, or if you're from St. Louis, you have to be good, or New York, or LA, or wherever. There's lots of talented designers and companies in places just like this. And you normally don't hear about them. So it's good and bad. I mean, it makes it a little more difficult to get your foot in the door on a larger project like that. But there's benefits to that too, because we're able to bring in experiences that are counter to what. You might have just being in a concrete jungle. So this Pepsi being one of them that I think will be be interesting to see where it goes.
Right. So why in particular do you think you've been successful in small town? What has been really from your experience and what you're learning, you're like, man, this is what makes us good or great?
Well, I'll start by saying I don't really feel that we're successful necessarily. We're we're always learning. We're not perfect yet. I don't think we ever will be. We have been successful in some of the things in what we do. Okay. By and large, the thing that I think have allowed us to grow to this point, and we're not done, is, it's kind of cliche, but I say be nice and work hard. Yeah. It's kind of, but it's true. If you do the right thing, if you're nice, and there are times where you don't want to be nice, but if you do the right thing and do it well, I truly believe that you end up you end up in a position to be more successful than just focusing on how much money are we making on this. Next, on the next one. We like long-term. We like long-term relationships with our customers. One, that's good for us because as they grow and we're doing the things that we should for them, hopefully, they continue to utilize our services to further them down the road as they grow. And, man, the biggest thing is word of mouth. If we don't do our best for a client and go through, if there's a mistake, even if it costs us money, making it right, I believe in that 100%. If we don't do that, what are you going to say? You're kind of in that boat too. I mean, we've known each other for a while, but you didn't go into the phone book or on Google and just designers. And so, you knew about me from other people that had worked with us. And, I would assume that they gave us a favorable review on what we're able to do. So, to put ourselves in the position to be successful, you have to take care of your customers. And that's number one. And two is nothing leaves this office without me being 100% satisfied with it.
Cool.
Period. Yeah. Doesn't matter how big or how small it is. And that is a struggle though, too, because we do find ourselves spending a lot of time on things that in some cases may not be the most profitable. Yeah. But they tend to lead into other things down the road. Yeah. So do your best, be nice, work hard.
So James, how did you find support here in this small town? Do you feel like the town square, if you will, have been supportive of your business?
To be truthful and honest.
And you said no, then with this interview would stop.
Well, no, it has, but like anything else, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a dream of running whatever it is, you have to put yourself out there. And I like living behind the scenes. I really do. Yeah. Being the fly on the wall, walking into projects that we've had a hand in watching people, just look around, at the interior or whatever it happens to be. Mm-hmm. But you have to put yourself out there. And I've found, moving up to the square, especially just being a little more visible. And we don't thrive on walking traffic. It's just the acknowledgement that you're part of something and you're like-minded in wanting, in this case, Marion, to take that step forward, especially with the investment happening downtown. Being part of that has been helpful to us. One, because we've been included in on that too, and we have thoughts, we have ideas, and we want to see things too. So, yeah, I mean, it absolutely has, and I think specifically for Marion, I truly believe it's heading in the right direction, which spells good things for everyone here, not just on the square, but just in general in Marion. But yeah, it has been helpful. We're active in the chamber. We've worked with you, and I've got a gentleman by the name of Matt Carnegie who's very active in networking and doing those things, which he compensates for me there because I'm not big on that. But yeah, overall it's been a great place to grow.
Yeah.
And I've felt as this square has grown, we're kind of growing along right with it, which has been fun.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about your location and how you just changed locations.
Right.
Jones Building. Talk about the Jones Building. What you know about the Jones
So
Building.
I'm a little bit of a history nut.
Okay.
And
I love it too.
For those of you that are unaware, there is a slightly dated site that maybe at some point we'll have a chance to help with. Maybe the Marion, Illinois Historical Preservation Society, I believe. If you Google that, you'll find that. They have a wealth of images from the old courthouse, pointing north, south, east, west, at different snapshots in history. It's fascinating to look back on those pictures and see what it was and what it evolved into through time. Some of it's sad, as we've lost buildings to fire or just, becoming uninhabitable from not being used. But, looking at this building specifically, that's actually kind of the reason I wanted to be up here. This building specifically was owned by Ivan Zwick for many years, who I was friends with from the gym, and talked with him, got a space up here and did my research and just seeing what it was, back in the day. I know one side of the building was A.H. Joseph's, which was a, fine clothing, top hats, cloaks, things of that sort. And then the space that we were in for years was more or less a five and dime / pharmacy. And it evolved through the years to be opened up between sides and what have you. But and come upstairs quite a bit. And this whole area up here, in fact, not just this building, but the remaining old brownstones around the square here were pretty much, I believe, if the story is correct, there was a lady who lived across the street upstairs, and I believe in 81 she passed. She was the last person to live or be on an upper section on the square, and it pretty much just sat. So this place was a time capsule, down to the old seated glass windows, and all the woodworking was still intact. It was a survivor, a true survivor. So when the current owner, Aaron, was interested in buying the building and renovating it, I found a great deal of joy working with him on that and kind of being part of it in our own way, to help him see that vision come true through his thing called Little Nashville downstairs.
Aaron Smith,
yes, who is in quite a few things, but he works for Smith Hafley, former teacher, good all-around guy. And so his business is going in the main floor, and he, kind of caught me off guard. Hey, what do you think about moving upstairs? Without hesitation, I'm like, yes, let's do this. Because I knew the potential that it had, and you really had to look through. You had to look past the rust and the the dirt and the grime to see what it could turn into, and it's happening. So
so cool. Well, like I said earlier, you gave us a tour. Maybe we'll have some shots of that on this video. Just wonderful things, and
we've tried to preserve as much of that as possible in the space too. I mean, we've worked with him on bringing the floors back. I mean, you've got this almost 130-year-old Southern yellow pine flooring that is just gorgeous. That was hidden under tar and layers and layers of coverings. That why do they do that? So bringing it back's been
that's so cool,
really neat.
So how many square feet do you have up here?
We did go down in space a little bit. I think now we're somewhere around 1,500, maybe,
right?
Give or take. Maybe a shade more than that. But the space that we have up here is definitely more usable.
Right.
Where our studio space below. For those of you who want to go online and check out our site, jamesarthurco.com, you'll still see shots of some of the office the way that it was. It was basically a big open studio.
Yeah.
And which was nice. in some ways, but as we found that we've kind of, as our team has become more compartmentalized in some of the things that they do. Myself, I'm on the phone quite a bit. I like to be out with the rest of the designers and part of that synergy, but I found that having my own space and place to get on the phone and not interrupt people has been helpful. So much more usable space.
And you just moved up here.
Yeah.
How many days? How many weeks?
Well, I'm kind of proud of this because in a span of, I believe it was 2 days, we had everything from our space below moved upstairs, and not fun. Just personally went through building a house in the moving process, so I feel like I've lived in a state of construction now for about 5 or 6 years, which has been a little rough, but the team really kicked in, helped out. We wanted to get out of this space so they could start downstairs, and when we were ready to pull the trigger, I said, let's move it. Yeah. So we've been up here now, I believe, 2 weeks. Okay. If memory serves.
And you're a craftsman yourself, so you were showing me some of the finishing things.
I like getting my hands dirty.
Yeah, you're still finishing things up here.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Got a focal wall that we're going to, I'm using wood and stacking things and using my fingers and hands and all the tools that I've collected over time to kind of put our own little mark on it. And that's been fun. And that's something that, I'm deviating here, but I find to be like the best creative relief valve too is using your hands. When you sit at a computer all day long, it's really nice to get up and physically build something and manipulate it. So we've put a lot of work of our own in this space, and we'll continue to do so.
Well, you're at the heart of this restoration process in downtown Marion, Illinois.
I'm blessed to be part of it.
It's so cool to see these spaces, as you said before, that have not been used for decades and decades. And some people have said, I've never seen anything in that building. To see it not just restored but revived and brought into the next generations, because I say this all the time, what we're doing now, we're aging, so it's not it's not like we're going to be here for decades upon decades, right? This is the next thing,
which is it's neat. I actually a memory that I have, being active in high school and actually all the way through college, performing. I played trumpet, jazz, and did creative things like that too. The Civic Center, I was actually helping out with a program that they had the night that the Civic Center burned. And it's super sad. At the time, it's that old building went away, and then you really start looking at it. What was on that corner. I mean, what they have now there is beautiful, but so kind of living through, I guess, a period of time, the falling of what was and the buildup of what it will become has been kind of nice too. And like you said, it's not just for us. We're starting this. We're part of the start, but this is really something that will benefit Marion for many, many years to come, I think.
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, let's finish on something. If you're a young entrepreneur or even an older entrepreneur, you're just starting a business, what would what gold nugget can you think of in advice that you would give somebody that's just starting? And maybe it might be something, if you look back on your life, I would do this different.
How much time do you have?
We'll cut this into a different podcast.
I'll keep it short. Man, I think the first thing is, however cheesy it may sound, but believe in yourself. Know what you're capable of. And when I first started doing this, I even had teachers and friends that were all around the country that said, you can't do that here. You can't do that. Nobody even knows what it is that you do. Why in the world would you do that here? And I kind of looked at it as, one, I was already here, so it was awfully easy just to do that where you were. But I also saw that as an opportunity. That nobody was doing it at that point. So believing in yourself, and something that I've learned over time is having to trust which is very hard, and delegate to people that you trust.
Yeah.
And I can't end this without saying this is not just me at all. I may have started it, but the continuation of this business and what we do is our team. I mean, I can't gush on those guys enough. The talent that we have here, we've always had in Southern Illinois. I mean, as I was going through college, and the talent that this area has, not just design, but in all areas of industry and professions. It's like this exodus of all that talent. So it's been nice to be able to keep some of that here, and trust in people, trust in a good team, invest in a good team, and people that want to do better, that want to push and do the right thing. And we're very fortunate at this point, especially with labor shortages and just everything that's still kind of lingering from COVID and what we went through. Very fortunate to have a team that's been here through the thick and thin, and so I think who is part of your company is just as important as who you are. Honestly, everything else I think is secondary to that. If you have the right team and you believe in something, you can make it happen.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. James Mosman, man, you are so cool. This has to be one of the coolest. We'll just put that at the top. Has to be one of the coolest interviews.
I don't know about that. I mean, we could talk about a lot of other things too, except just me. But it's I've appreciated it. It's been fun. It's been fun, and get to show people that are kind of interested. People walk by all the time. So what does it look like up there? Is it neat? Do you like being up there? Is it questions. So you only get to see this sliver here. But there's a lot more to it, and maybe you'll be back up here again with Aaron. In time, great. And maybe you can kind of take a little bit more of a look around.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, James Mosman and James Arthur Design Company. How would somebody find James Arthur Design? How would they reach you?
Google us. If you type in logo design, Southern Illinois, anything Southern Illinois to do with print, marketing, so on and so forth, or just visit us at jamesarthurco.com. And you can find us on social media too under that handle.
Appreciate you very much.
You too.
Sorry Allison couldn't be here today.
You know what?
We're going to have to say something. Say something about Allison.
I'm going to say something about Allison. So I work with Allison. She's actually a client of ours too. Small world, right? And we've been there for her when she needed us. In the darkest hours, we've been there for her. My menu's broken on my website. And this is to you, Allison, because I know you're going to watch this. Mega menus don't fix themselves. We do. And you're not even here. No, it's fine. I understand.
I am sure
okay.
She's missing us, and she's going to beat on herself for not being here today. This was a good interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We want to thank everyone for being part of the Small Town Big Business podcast community by listening and watching. Again, want to thank you to our sponsors for making this possible, and that includes Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond RV and Harley Davidson, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Swinford Media Group, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, of course, our friends at Union Street Arts. The great Luke O'Neill makes this all possible by producing this podcast. If you want to know more about EThOs, a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training and development here in Marion, Illinois, you just have to go to ethosmarion.org, or you can contact me, Russell Williams, and that email is russell@watermarkethos.org. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We've got several that we're on, and also the YouTube. Thank you for subscribing. I'm Russell Williams. Thanks for joining us for Small Town Big Business.